Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We are your hosts, David O.
And Eric V.
Today we are joined from a very special guest, I'd say halfway around the world.
It is halfway around the world.
From, I just had to be told how to pronounce this, Mauritius, which is it in the Indian Ocean?
Yes, that's correct. It's in the Indian Ocean. That's neighboring the African continent.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I never think about the Indian Ocean.
Nobody does.
You know, like Atlantic, Pacific.
Yeah.
You know?
And the Indian Ocean is a thing, Eric.
Maybe we're just kind of...
We're jaded.
Yeah.
We're jaded.
Huh.
Well, fantastic. We're glad to have you. It's pretty cool to be talking from Baltimore to the Indian Ocean. His name is Jonathan, by the way, from the Indian Ocean. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing much better than I was, let's say, a few months ago, a few years ago, a few decades ago.
All right. Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, it's a new journey. I guess we'll talk about it, but it looks and sounds so easy until you actually start it.
Yeah.
And I guess you guys know a lot about what I suffer from because you're involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I think, regardless of where you live, which ethnic background you're from, what color skin that you have, addiction, no boundaries. And I think with technology today, especially from the gambling side, it pretty much affects every single soul on the planet. So it's something very serious. So yeah, it's always nice to hear different stories, especially from different people from various parts of the world. I think that's just so powerful.
Absolutely. And I've kind of spoiled it already, but where are you from?
So Mauritius is a small, tiny island, which is a few thousands of miles off the coast of the bigger island, which is situated on the left side of South Africa. You look at the African continent,
Mm-hmm.
you have that big fat island, and then we're a tiny country, a couple of miles, 2,000 miles on the east coast, I think, if you look at the map. So, it's a tiny country. We'd like to pretend that we're a big nation, but we're not.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it used to be a French and a British colony. So in the 18th century, it was a French colony, and then in the 19th century, it was a British colony. Then we gained independence, and since then we've been affiliated with the African continent.
Awesome. And when were you first introduced to recovery?
What do you mean by recovery?
Well, I mean, what was the first time you sought help for your addiction, or it was put onto you from the courts or an intervention or whatever?
Well, I think to me, and that's my personal view on it, but I think any addiction carries 4 stages, and I've lived through 2 of them. So some of your listeners might agree, some might not, which is absolutely fine. I think when you're engaging in any substance, in the consumption of any substance or behavior, you've got the denial stage,
Mm-hmm.
the realization stage, the acceptance stage, and the treatment stage.
Nice.
Now, just to give you a perspective, I realized that I had a problem in 2013. I accepted that I had a problem in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I was in denial for practically 20 years prior to that, and I sought treatment only when my wife left me, which was last year. So I guess I'll go into the chronology of that. But I first sought treatment on the 3rd of July, 2018. This is when, seeking treatment. I actually got admitted in a private clinic in Mauritius because my wife had just left me. I went back home after work and the house was pretty much emptied out. I had no notice, nothing.
Mm.
And I went on a binge where in 72 hours, I can't remember how much I drank, but I practically drank to death. I gambled everything that I had.
Oof.
And on the 3rd of July, so 72 hours later, at 7 in the morning, I was with my mom. And I realized that in that time frame, I actually had 2 failed suicide attempts. And I checked in a private clinic. I spent 9 days there. So that was pretty much for the detoxification part of the alcohol, because the addictions I suffer from are alcoholism and problem gambling. So yeah, so I guess to officially answer your question, it would have been on the 3rd of July 2018 is when I first sought treatment.
Okay.
And then some good things happened and some terrible things happened following that. So I guess I'll let you I'll let you dictate where we go from there.
Yeah. All right. And how long have you been clean or sober?
I actually stopped counting, but today I'm on my website. I have a website that I'll give you the details out of why free. But I think today is 130 days.
Fantastic.
Days.
All right.
So yeah, I actually never thought I'd get to this point. And just to give you a bit of a background, I mean, I've lived in the U.S. for about 10 years of my life. And I mean, I was living I guess you would say the American dream and the American lifestyle. I was in college. I did high school there. I was working. And so my mom's German as well. So I grew up with a very, if you will, Western sort of lifestyle. You know, even though Mauritius is predominantly very conservative, and the vast majority of people here are of Asian background. I mean Asian, I mean our ancestors come from India. So yeah, I had the chance to study in the US, but didn't work out. I lived also in the UK, in Dubai. I mean, I've covered the world, and I've been a bunch of places. But what I've come to realize was that my addictions, wherever I went, were always there with me.
Yeah.
It took quite a while to figure that out.
All right.
So yeah, it was quite a painstaking process, I guess.
All right. Well, that's amazing that you have that much clean time, man. But now it's time to turn the mic over to you, so for you to share your story with us. So take it away.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So my name is Jonathan Venkatachanam. I like to always say it. I am an alcoholic and problem gambling recovery. And so my life goes a bit something like this. My mom is German. My dad's from Mauritius. My dad met my mom in France in the late 70s. I guess I was born there in 1983. My parents worked in the hotel and hospitality industry. In 1987, they decided to move to Mauritius to start a little hotel business, which they did. So they brought me on with them. So I think I was 3 or 4 when it started. And growing up, I was a very, very, very good tennis player, very promising athlete. I quickly was number 1 in Mauritius. I was ranked in the top players in Africa, having competed in the African Championships a few times. So long story short, in 1998, I got a scholarship to go to South Carolina, where I started my high school years there. So it was basically boarding school. We'd go to school in the morning, it was private school, and then in the afternoon we'd train, and the goal was to become a professional tennis player.
Wow.
And so I left Mauritius when I was 14 years of age, so that was in 1998. So very young, yes, I had guardians and house parents and whatnot, but taking a kid from his shelter and taking him 10,000s of miles in the U.S. was something that I think traumatized me deep enough to engage in my addiction. So when I was in high school, I got exposed to binge drinking, and mind you not, in 1998, 2000, I think I just started consuming in 2000 from the alcohol perspective. And it was your typical, high school parties where, you'd go and you weren't really going there to appreciate the alcohol. The goal was to get, the drunkest as possible.
Yep.
And being very short, I mean, I'm only 5'7". I guess for the US, that's the average American is close to 6 foot tall, 5'10", something like that.
No, I think the average is like 5'8" or 5'9", something like that.
Is it?
Yeah, you're not short, dude.
I guess if you take the Latino community, it would be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, no. But yeah, so when I was in my high school years, I was foreign. I didn't. I mean, I've lost a lot of my American accent, but I did have a pretty good Southern accent back in the day.
Nice.
It took a while to get accustomed to the culture, but what I want to say is that at the time being foreigner, it was very hard. So the only way for me to find acceptance was to be involved in the drinking part of the session. And mind you, not in the morning we're going to school and we're playing tennis, but once every 2 weeks there were some kids. I mean, I was on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, which is the touristic place, lots of golf courses, wealthy neighborhoods and whatnot. And you'd have the parties that would be organized, and I wasn't really accepted for the first couple of years. So freshman and sophomore year, pretty much didn't drink at all. Then when I went back home in Mauritius, I think it was in the summer of 2000, I got the brilliant idea to produce myself with an official fake ID. Now,
Nice.
when I came back to the US, because it was always tough to have people purchase liquor and alcohol, and I guess I had special hair at the time, so all of a sudden I become important because I've got that fake ID, and I'm the one who's buying and purchasing alcohol for everyone. So I started the circles, and I think this is where the start of the end of my existence, as I know it happened. And so, I engaged in binge drinking, and I didn't think anything about it. And then when I graduated high school, I got a scholarship to go play tennis and study at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Nice.
So the same principles went again. You go to school in the morning, you play on the NCAA Division I level, and you play your matches on. I think the season was in the fall, not in the spring. So during the fall time, it'd be training, but on Fridays and Saturdays, you've got the football games, and you're exposed to partying, and again, it's binge drinking. And so I do that. And mind you, not all this time while I'm in the U.S., I don't have a work permit. I'm there as a student. So essentially what that means is that I'm allowed to study in the United States, but I do not have the right to work. So every single penny that I end up spending in the U.S. is directly my parents' income.
Oh, wow.
I had to have a scholarship. Now, at the time, Mauritius was not as strong economically than it is today. So I think I averaged, we had a chat with my mom, but the 10 years I spent in the U.S. cost me, when you add the cost of living, the alcohol, the flight tickets, everything that I was basically used to live there, almost $1 million.
Wow.
And we're talking high school, college for 5 years, because I didn't graduate in 4 years, because obviously with the sports schedule, it's hard to complete your studies in 4 years. And I got my MBA from Winthrop University, and I started working for Merrill Lynch. I got a great internship. Everything looked so promising. And then, boom, in 2008, the economic bubble happened.
Yeah.
And I go to work. And I had an internship, but the internship was supposed to materialize into a full-time job. So you basically do the internship. If you pass the Series 7, it's basically a certification you need when you work in the investment banking sector. I would most likely have been employed by Merrill Lynch. And then Bear Stearns collapsed, or the bank started collapsing. And then I go to work on a Monday, and Bank of America just acquired Merrill Lynch. So you guys know the story. They laid off half of the workforce. There was a government over, and I'm there still as a student. The only difference is that at that time, I'm doing my master's. So the goal was, you do your master's for 2 years. While you're doing your master's, in the morning you work, and then when you complete your master's, you supposedly get your green card or your H-1B visa. And there you go. The American dream officially starts.
Yeah.
And so that left me with a very bitter pill regarding my experience in the U.S. because I was there illegally. I worked 10, 12 hours a day during my internship. Was not getting paid. Then I get a letter from the U.S. Department of Justice, and you've got 30 days to leave the United States. So, you spend 10 years there, your parents have spent $1 million almost in your studies,
Yeah.
and then you get a nice old letter saying that, well, we're sorry, you're going to have to leave. So, yeah, this is what happened. So I left in 2010, went to Dubai a couple of years with actually an old tennis teammate of mine. And I got a job there playing coaching tennis at the Ritz-Carlton. And actually I made a tremendous amount of money. Was working on tennis court stuff 10 to 12 hours a day. And after a couple of years, I decided that, I didn't really do all these studies to be playing tennis anymore. And so I decided to quit. I went to London for a year to try to find work. And it was possible for me at the time because I still am a holder of a German passport.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, the UK had not left the European Union yet, so I could work there. And I tried to find employment in the financial and banking sectors. That didn't work out. Again, another failure. And then I come back to Mauritius in 2013. And yeah, so I started working for a small bank here and then the corporate sector, and then I ended up working for various financial institutions. But during all this time that I've just talked about and described to you, the addiction from the alcohol point was getting progressively worse. And what's scary about this is that you don't realize what's going on until you actually try to get out.
Yeah.
Now, in 2013, so basically when I came back home in Mauritius in 2013, I've been living half of my existence in the U.S. So it's common practice after you work to go grab a few drinks. Now, a few drinks for me was 4 to 6 beers at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of times during the week, and then of course on Fridays and Saturdays you get shit-faced. That's the norm.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it carries on. So 2013, I actually met my wife at a bar here, NSC Park Hotel, which is very famous to, I guess, get together and have drinks after work. And I met her when I was shit-faced.
Oh no. That's a great place to meet.
Oh yeah, always. Usually it doesn't turn out well, but in our case it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, we met on the 16th of August 2013. We moved in February 2014. That went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I worked, and I was earning a lot of money. I was doing really well. Unfortunately, in 2017, in October of 2017, I was basically forced to resign from a very high-paying job. Now, from the time I met my wife up until 2017, the episode I'm describing, we have a certain lifestyle. We have a home. We have cars. We don't have loans, but we're living a pretty rich lifestyle considering what the average person earns. Sorry, and when overnight you don't get that income, and at the time I was earning about close to $4,000 a month, which is a fortune here.
Yeah.
Because the average Mauritius about $700 or $800 a month. So I'm making 6, 7 like that. And then I lose the job. I go on 23 interviews. I don't find a job. And during that period, October, November 2017, up until when my wife left me on the 30th of June, I was a full-blown alcoholic. So I think a lot of people, when they talk about alcoholism, they don't really understand the stages of alcoholism. When you talk to someone, you mention to him alcoholic, you have this image in your head that it's a person, that's homeless and drinking, and this could not be further from the truth, You've got the social drink, I guess, and you can, and most of the time it does turn into alcohol dependency. And for me, alcohol dependency is basically a functioning alcoholic. You work, you attend to your duties, but there's always an excuse to drink. You know what I mean? And for me, the traumatic event that led to the loss of my employment and the fact that I could not find another employment that matched what I had been earning plunged me into full-blown depression. And the only way to cope with it, because no one was understanding the pain I was going through, was to drink. So I was never a liquor or wine drinker. I've always been a beer drinker. But from October 2017 up until my wife left me, I was averaging anywhere between 8 to 16 cans of beer a day. So put it in perspective, I wake up, I got the chills, and I can't function. The first thing I do at 7 in the morning, I go to the store, I buy a 6-pack, I take 3 drinks, and now I'm ready to do it. So it's like a breakfast.
Yeah.
And before that, so before the event leading to the loss of my employment, I was an alcohol-dependent person. I was drinking my 3, 4, 5, 6 beers every night, but I had it under control mentally, if you will. So I was still drinking way over the prescribed limit, which a lot of people don't even know what. This is the funny thing when I talk to people. I ask them, so what's too much? And they say, well, until I reach my limit. And I say, well, no. What's too much? Medically and legally speaking. And I didn't even know up until about a year ago, and that's 14 units of alcohol in a 7-day period.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I actually calculated when I was alcohol dependent, I was consuming 4 to 5 times that amount in a week. And when I was a full-blown alcoholic, I think I was at about 10 times the limit.
Ooh.
So basically, I don't know if you guys know how units are calculated. I'm sure you guys do know.
Yeah.
So essentially, you take the volume of alcohol that's present in any kind of alcoholic beverage, be it beer, wine, spirits, and then you divide the total amount by the alcohol content, and you get a unit. So I think a beer can have something like 1.6 units. So yeah, if you have 8 beers a week, you are alcohol dependent, and 8 beers doesn't sound like much, does it?
No.
So, then you get the episodes of binge drinking, and I think that's a big phenomenon today. I'm speaking from experience here in Mauritius. People go out to get shit-faced, you know what I mean? Like, there's some who will say that they go to appreciate a glass of wine or two, but since, I created my website and I started digging into articles, alcohol has zero health, social, economic, or environmental benefits.
Yeah.
That's not me saying. That's just, researchers.
Yeah.
And of course you've got research funded by the lobbyists, so I don't pay attention to that. But the numbers speak for themselves. So alcohol is the leading, actually a lot of people tend to forget that alcohol is a drug. That's what worries me a lot. And
Absolutely.
I think the lobbyists are doing a fantastic job at making sure it stays this way. Most people don't even understand what a drug means. So if you're listening, a drug is any substance that you consume which alters the way your physical body functions and how your brain chemistry works.
Yep.
So that's the definition of a drug. So when you drink, you get shit-faced. First of all, you don't think straight and you do stupid things. So alcohol is a drug.
100%.
So that's from a medical perspective. And alcohol is the leading drug that kills in the world. The World Health Organization published a report in 2018, and alcohol is responsible for 3.3 million deaths a year. That's more than crack cocaine, heroin, and crystal meth.
Oh, yeah.
Just to put it into perspective. So, it's quite serious. And what I find hilarious is that I think it's 3 times more lethal than tobacco. And I think worldwide, when you buy a pack of tobacco, you see the picture of the people with the open heart surgery.
Oh, yeah, the black lungs.
But when you buy, I'm speaking here, when you buy a beverage, it says alcohol leads to domestic problems, and excessive amount of alcohol can cause health problems. That's so vague.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're talking about a substance that is destroying lives, killing people, killing innocent people in car crashes and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And the alcohol companies don't mention to you that 3.3 million people are dying every year. They don't mention to you that alcohol is proven to cause at least 7 types of cancers. They don't mention to you that exceeding 14 units a week is dangerous. They don't mention to you that alcohol is highly addictive. So yeah, here we go. That's the status. And I think the lobbyists are doing a fantastic job so far. And yeah.
That's
So that's where I want to go now. That event, actually, when I think back, it's a catch-22 because when my wife left me on the 30th of June last year, I guess she did it behind my back, so that hurt. And I got now today I'm under supervision of a psychologist. I am in the psychiatric care. I do my spiritual meditation. I am, I guess, well surrounded. But when she left me, I was clueless. I did not know why. I mean, I knew why, but I said, okay, so there's a problem. Let's try to fix it. Man, it's an unsolvable problem.
yeah.
The thing with me, just to talk a bit about what happened to me and how I coped with it. So we're talking basically 20 years of existence, going from binge drinking to alcohol dependency to full-blown alcoholism, to where I'm basically drinking every day. My wife leaves me. I tried to commit suicide twice. I gambled massively. I get admitted in a hospital, in a private clinic, which cost me a fortune. And I get out, and I stay clean for 320 days or something like that out of 365. So from the 3rd of July, no, the 9th of July, when I was discharged from the clinic, up until the 28th of May 2019, I'm clean 320 days, man, out of 365. Now, for someone that used to drink every day, that's a pretty big fucking achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But apparently for my wife, it wasn't good enough. And I realized how severe my addictions were because I made a mistake after 6 months or 7 months of taking medication to stop. Because I told myself, well, you've been clean for 6 months and you love alcohol, you love having a good time. And, give yourself a pass. Once every 2 weeks you go out and, when the football team plays, you watch it and you try to keep it under 3 or 4 beers. And man, that's not the case. Actually, on the times that I did drink, I drank like a horse.
Yeah.
And my problem with gambling is that I never ever gambled when I'm sober. So the pattern goes like this for me. I have to have some kind of bill or invoice or something that I have to pay. And because that comes to me, I feel like shit. So I'll drink, and then while I drink, I meditate, and I meditate the wrong way. I think and I reflect on why that bill came. And then I say, well, you're not earning enough, you don't have enough, so just go gamble. And for me, gambling was blackjack and roulette. So, I am not someone that would go gamble every day, but when I did gamble, I lost massive amounts of money. It could range anywhere between $200 and $4,000.
Yeah.
And so I would do what you would call an impulsive, compulsive problem gambler. Now, in that 320 days where I stay sober, I'm asking myself, I'm like, man, I'm staying clean 90% of the time. And it's not good enough for my wife to come back. It's not good enough for my lifestyle to be back as it was. And on the 20th day, I said, fuck it, man. So, I took all the money that I had on credit cards and cash, whatnot. I check in the hotel, I get absolutely shit-faced, and I go gamble, and I lose everything. I call my wife, she doesn't pick up the phone. My dad, he's oblivious to my addiction because my dad doesn't consider that I have an addiction. For him, when I drink, it's because I'm sad, and when I gamble, it's because I need money. So I'm not an addict. Everything's fine with me. Just, that's just me. And my wife, she was not part of my recovery at all. In fact, she made it worse. She took my child away. She started arguing with me about the amount of time I could spend with my child. And in hindsight, I guess she was right because, you can't really trust an addict when he's not fully recovered. So I will take responsibility for that. My brother's living in. I got a brother who's 8 years younger than me, so he has his life in Switzerland. He's very successful. He's not comprehending the severity of what I go through. So basically, the only person that I have to take care of me is my mother. And so on the 20th of May, I said, "Fuck it, no one cares about me." So I tried to commit suicide. I should actually have been dead today. I'm not going to go into the details of what happened because I don't want to play this game where you give people some ideas and methods to go about it, which is, when someone mentions the word suicide, it should never be taken lightly, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
And I think when someone mentions the word suicide, that's my opinion. I haven't been someone who attempted it. I think in the beginning, we think about suicide and that's just internal to us. And then we mention it once or twice. And when we're mentioning it, we're actually seeking attention. We're seeking love. We're seeking compassion. We are seeking human contact from the people that we love. And oftentimes, more than not, people will say, he's just, he's going through a phase. He's just depressed. He's bullshitting. He's not serious. And then when that person realizes that, his support system that he grew up to believe were the ones who would be there for him when he's in the shit, when he realizes that they're not going to be there for him or her, then that person tries to do that. And when that person actually does it, then everyone around is like, "Oh my God, he killed himself." And I despise people who think like that because someone who commits suicide, in my opinion, will never just do it. There are always warning signs.
Yeah. Yep.
Because as human beings, we want to be reassured. It's like with your job. You have a job, you want to get assured that you're going to get your paycheck. So if your boss comes up to you and says, "Hey, we're having financial difficulties," you're going to be questioning. So as human beings, we want assurance.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there are other people who will just do it and go through with it. But in the vast majority of cases, the people who attempt and who do it, they give warning signs.
Yeah.
And when they give warning signs are ignored.
Yeah.
That's my perception. I might be wrong. I've read a lot of it. But that was the case for me. So
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. People kind of like want to like, I guess, ignore the situation or like, just like you said, pretend it's not as serious as it really is. Which is honestly a lot like alcoholism. People like there's warning signs of like the problem drinker to the habitual drinker to like the alcohol dependent to the full blown alcoholic. Like all these warning signs and red flags go up, and a lot of people around us sort of like don't see them for what they really are until it's too late.
You're absolutely right. And, just to put in perspective, you guys are Americans. You live in the Western world. And on Twitter, I interact with a lot of people from Canada, from Australia, from the UK, from Europe, and from the United States. I live in a country, man, where when you pronounce the word addict, you are a reject of society. Okay? I'm just, this is a conservative society, Hindu background.
Yeah.
Addictions are present in society. Addictions are not accepted. The word addiction is taboo.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no treatment. There is no long-term treatment because addictions are treated. If you suffer from a substance disorder, alcohol, drugs, you need to get the detoxification phase. That's fine. Remove the substance from the body. But then there's the long-term treatment.
Yeah.
And that's not available in Mauritius in the public sector. It is available in the private care at a massive cost. And it's not accepted. So when there's no information, and when I wanted to get better in 2010, so just to go back, so there's the denial phase of addiction. There's the realization phase, which is internal to you. So you're not sharing it with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem. You're not going to get past your pride and ego. And then for me, there's the acceptance phase, and the acceptance phase is you share it with someone other than you, your mom, in some cases with everyone. And then there's the treatment phase. And here in Mauritius, if you mention the word, addiction, alcoholic, gambler, or whatnot, you will be rejected, you will be resented, you will be labeled mentally insane. All this stuff. So when I realized and accepted that I had a problem, I'm the first person that actually went on LinkedIn and wrote Jonathan Venkatachellam, recovering alcoholic and problem gambler.
Mm.
And everyone told me I'm absolutely insane. I had just killed my career. I was like, well, I know I've killed my career because I haven't gotten an interview after 23, a job after 23 interviews. So I ended up working for my mom. She has a small cafe, so, you know, if it's credit to her, if it wasn't for her, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
But, you know, you go into treatment and it's secretive, and there are all branches of Alcohol Anonymous here, but it's associated with churches. And not that being associated with a church is bad. I'm not talking from a religious point of view. I'm just saying, here, if you want to go to an anonymous meeting, being Gamblers Anonymous or Alcohol Anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a crusade to go there. It's in remote places of the island.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's city places. So, you know, just walking there, you have the sense of guilt. You don't feel comfortable. A lot of times, people that go there, you know, it's not well. I mean, there's no agenda. I've never actually been to an Alcohol Anonymous meeting.
Okay.
But I know my country well enough to tell you that the Alcohol Anonymous meetings held here, because of the stigma, because of addiction being taboo, because of the lack of treatment available in the public care,
Mhm.
I can tell you that a meeting in Mauritius is totally different than a meeting in the US or in the UK.
Yeah.
You have my word on it. I know the culture. You know, in the US, for example, you've got celebrities that would say, "Hey, I got out of addiction because I went to Alcohol Anonymous, or I went to Gamblers Anonymous."
Mm-hmm.
Here in Mauritius, you don't have a single person of status that is going to mention. I mean, you're talking to the first guy in the history of this country that has openly come out, put it on all social media, and created a website to talk about the addiction. Because when I was looking up information in my country, you know, just basic definition of what addictions are, where I can find information to go talk to someone. You know, I went on Google, I put addictions Mauritius, nothing. One rehab clinic that I will not talk to you about. I think it's better if I just leave it this way.
Okay.
You put gambling Mauritius, you have nothing. You have alcohol Mauritius. I mean, all these words with addiction Mauritius, you don't have a single state-sponsored website or even a private clinic or hospital that is describing to you what you suffer from. So my question is, how the fuck do you get better if you don't even understand what the fuck you're suffering from?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how do you do it? How do you do it? So I was lost. And so I told myself, well, I know my country well enough, and I know there are people like me. So let me try to see if I can connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never on Facebook. I just recently started a Facebook page. And so I told myself, well, why don't you research your addiction? And in doing so, you create a website. And as you learn, you take the material that you have gotten from reliable sources and you put it on your website. So that's how my website started. AGAS Mauritius actually stands for Alcohol and Gambling Abstinence Support. So agasmauritius.com. So I started the homepage. You know, I'm not a web designer by any means.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am quite talented for web design. And so I started with the homepage. You know, I talked about my story, and then I researched the meaning of addictions, and I cited sources, and one page became 2, became 3, became 4. And yeah, 1 year later, I mean, you know, when I first launched the website, I was averaging 3 or 5 views a day. Today, I'm averaging anywhere between 100 and 300 views a day.
Nice.
And half of the viewers are based in Mauritius, and I've reached 48 countries across the planet, which is a quarter of the of planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and so my website, and a lot of people here, when they talk to me about my website, you know, it's not designed to treat you. It's not going to treat you because every addiction, recovery, story, trauma is different.
Mm-hmm.
But what the website does is it provides you an insight as to what you suffer from, what are the causes, what are the effects, and how do you go about it. So it's basically an encyclopedia from cited material to help you understand what alcoholism is and what problem gambling is.
That's awesome.
And what frustrates me with my people here in Mauritius is that I've spent a year designing this website. The pictures all have a meaning. It's soothing to the eye.
Mm-hmm.
The way I've structured my website is easy to read. People don't even go on the website. They call me, hi, I'm S, I'm Z, I'm A, I'm B, I'm C. I'm an alcoholic. How do I go about it? How much is it going to cost? I said, do you know who I am? They say, yeah, you're a treatment center. I said, no, I'm not a treatment center. I'm a sufferer. Oh, but that's not what it says on your website. I said, bullshit, did you read the homepage? No. And, for the first 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, I actually spoke to people. And when you speak to people, keep in mind I have a full-time job. Huh?
Yeah.
It takes you 30 minutes to an hour to explain. And I'm doing this for free. I'm not charging a single dime.
Yeah.
And it's 30 minutes to 60 minutes. I get 2 or 3 because I'm spending 3 hours a day explaining to people. And I said, I'm fed up with this shit. So read my website. So when people call me now, I don't even answer the website. I send a text message. Hey, this is Jonathan. If this concerns addiction, everything is listed on my website. And I can actually see through Google Analytics the amount of seconds that each person spends on each page.
Wow.
Now, each page, normally if you go through a page, you should spend anywhere between 2 and 3 minutes to read the material. So now the bounce rate in Mauritius is about anywhere between 30 and 45 seconds, which means people are not reading it.
Yeah.
So I decided from a comment that I actually received on Twitter, because I used the Morpheus gifts and whatnot about the Matrix, and I started making videos. So basically, on my website, you've got the wording, and then you've got me telling you what the medical evidence says, and then you've got me telling you from a sufferer's perspective how it feels like. So I mean, the information that is on my website, it should cost thousands of dollars for anyone across the globe. But I know how hurtful it is to suffer from this.
Yeah.
And so, the least I could do is to provide my bit to help someone. And I hope that it can help people, and that's the point of it. And so, yeah, and for me, the toughest part of recovery is not actually stopping to drink or stopping to gamble. That's the easy part. You know what the hardest part is? And I think that's why the failure rate to remain sober the past 5 years, based on various medical evidence, is at 95 to 97%. It's because when you're in recovery, man, your environment won't change for you.
Yeah.
See, when I suffer, I'm 35 years of age. So for 35 years of age, I have built an understanding of what life should be, right? So I'm watching my football game, I go to this bar or this pub, right? I'm playing golf, I'm consuming my beers after golf, right? I go to a restaurant, I drink 2 beers. So everything, the addiction is getting rid of the substance or the behavior is the easy part. Adapting to society without you living, without the consumption or the engagement of the addiction is the tough part.
Yes.
Like I'm 35 years old, man. I don't have credit cards anymore. I don't have debit cards. I don't carry more than $20 in my pocket. I don't go out at night after 6 p.m. unless it's an emergency for my daughter. My mom handles my finances. I don't go to any of the restaurants where I have once drank alcohol. I cannot even drive past a section of the highway because it reminds me of taking a left turn and going to the casino. I cannot fly anymore, because if I fly, it reminds me of getting shit-faced in business class. I cannot, I am literally a prisoner in my mom's home. And that, for me, in a conservative society where addictions are viewed as being taboo, that's what you got to do to remain sober, man.
All right.
And that's why people fail here. And that's why, Twitter, and I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys see it. Every tweet that I send, every tweet that I receive, man, Twitter keeps me sober. This community, with my mom, with my job, with my medication, with my weekly psychiatry and psychology sessions, that keeps me sober. But I have basically erased an entire portion of my human existence. And that is so fucking hard to do, man.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, I'm 35 years old. I do not go out past 6 p.m. Can you fathom that?
Mm.
I cannot even watch a football game. My favorite team is Liverpool Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch them in the pub because if I watch them from the computer, because when I think of my football team, I think beer, 6 beers, I mean, 2 or 3 beers before the game, 6 beers during the game, 3 for the first half, 3 for the second half, and then 2 or 3 beers to talk about the end of the game. So just watch something as simple as watching a sporting event is related to alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Something like playing, and that's what it takes. And, I cannot be around people who still engage in the behavior. I don't have any friends because I suffer from, for those, I didn't mention this, but I'm an alcoholic in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a problem gambler in recovery. I suffer from bipolar disorder. I've got anxiety. I've got depression, and I have undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome. So I have a tough time making emotional connections with people.
Yeah.
So all the people that were part of my life that I have come to associate with were there when I was getting shit-faced and drunk and gambling.
Mm-hmm.
So today you ask me to pick up my phone and dial someone to ask for help. The answer is 0. Well, there's one. There's one person. And he was actually there when I was hospitalized. But, he works, in the sectors relating to alcohol and gambling. So I keep my distance with it. But yeah, man, it's tough. And that's why, when I interact with people on Twitter and they say, oh yeah, I've been 90 days clean, I've been 100 days clean, and I'm going to this concert tonight, or, there's a party at my house. I say, no, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Manage your triggers. You've got to know your triggers, and that takes psychology, and that takes psychiatry. Man, I take 15 pills a day. There's no video, but I'll be glad to share a blog post with you that I take 15 pills a day, man. I take antidepressants, mood stabilizers, sleep aid, vitamins, omega fish oils, natural herbs, natural antidepressants. I take 15 pills a day, man.
Mm-hmm.
My medical, psychiatric, and psychological costs in Mauritius today, a country where the average person earns anywhere between $800 and $1,000, depending on the number of times I see my doctors, ranges anywhere between $500 and $600, bro.
Oof. All right.
And that help is not available in the public sector, so you have to go to private clinics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you are not well off financially, like I am fortunate that I was, and my parents, because I come from an upper middle class background.
Mm-hmm.
My question is the poor people, those who are deprived, those, you have people who genuinely have realized, have accepted, and they want to do good, and they say, I want to get out. Well, man, where do you turn to? First of all, your society says that you're fucked in the head, that you are insane, that you are crazy, that you are worthless. Right? So in Mauritius, Mauritius is based on a caste dynasty system, where basically each family of Hindu background have their ranks in society. It's the same for the African Americans. It's the same for the Asians. So you've got levels of social belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So if you carry this name, then you belong in this echelon of society, right? So I personally know people who are in the upper echelon of this society. And they are addicts, they are alcoholics, they are gamblers. They seek treatment in secrecy, but when there are events and everything's fine. The dad's never going to say, hey, my son has a problem. No, you don't do that. You don't do that here.
Mm. All right.
So staying sober in this country is mission impossible. I can tell you. Because, like Albert Einstein said, insanity means doing the same shit over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, I am staying sober every day, and in doing so, I expect my society to accept mental illness and addiction as being something very real,
Mm-hmm.
providing treatment, providing acceptance, and not getting fired from your job because you have that, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in this country, to be sober and to get treated, you have to literally be insane, according to one of the greatest physicists in human history. Isn't that a paradox?
Yeah. All right. Well, we definitely have some. I think we got
A few questions.
Yeah, a few questions. You want to start, Eric?
Yeah, so you kind of talked a little bit earlier in your share about how you were kind of expected to be a professional tennis player. And, you spoke a little bit about this and how, these expectations, kind of weighed on you at a little bit. But how much did the expectations of your childhood and, kind of having this certain trajectory affect you and, have an effect on, addiction in general and mental health?
Well, yeah. So my father, when he worked in France, he received a tennis racket from John McEnroe when he was a waiter at a restaurant. McEnroe was playing the French Open. So McEnroe gave a wooden racket, those old-style tennis wooden rackets to my dad. He said, if you have the possibility, make your child one day become a tennis player. So my dad was, I guess, obsessed with it. And he came from a very deprived background and started the business. So, when I was 5, 6 years old, I was a very talented soccer player. I mean, if today I had pursued soccer, I would have been playing at least in the second division in England. So I was forced to play a sport that I absolutely despise. I haven't touched the tennis racket since 2012. I absolutely hate the sport. So he wanted me to be a tennis player. He wanted me to be a professional tennis player. He wanted me to win Wimbledon and whatnot. And the past was very promising. When I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I was number 1 in Mauritius. I was, constantly making the quarterfinals, semifinals in the African Championships. And then when I went to the US, the goal was to become professional. So when in tennis, basically when you are 18 years of age, you have 2 choices. You basically take some money, a lot of money, anywhere between $50,000 and $200,000, which you allocate for 1 year. And in that 1 year, you're going to pay coach, you're going to pay for traveling expenses, you're going to pay for hotels, and you're going to play on the lowest circuit of the ATP Tour. Okay, so you basically play a tournament, you win a couple of rounds, you qualify, and you get a point. So the objective is to gather points, so that as you gather points, you get into the better tournament. The problem is, as you keep doing that, and you don't reach results, you don't get results quickly enough, you have invested money with the traveling expenses and the coaching and whatnot. So if the return, if you're not endorsed and you don't have a huge bank account, then the money runs up and there are no results. And I did that for a year. So for about 6 months, I was actually playing on the professional circuit. I realized soon enough that I wasn't going, I was losing in the first round in the qualifiers. I was losing in the second round. I was a very good tennis player, don't get me wrong. I was ranked top 500 in the world in juniors, but I was not good enough to get into that senior level. And so what that ended up doing was making me go to college and play on a collegiate, system. But when I went to college, I could sense that my dad was massively disappointed because I had not taken the path that he wanted me to take. And then, of course, there were the calculations of the amount of money that, would have to be spent. So there was this huge pressure. My dad was very abusive to me when I was a child. Essentially, when I was playing tennis, when I was a kid, when I was losing tennis matches, he would physically abuse me, not sexually. If I was playing a player that I had never lost to, I was expected to win by a certain margin, 6-love, 6-love, 6-1, 6-1. If I won even by the closest of margin, or I lost on the way home from the match to my house. I got burned by cigarettes. I got beaten up. I got beaten with belts. I got one time he actually made me sleep outside the house in the car. I was physically and psychologically abused by my dad.
Oof.
And at the time, my mom was just too weak mentally to put up with that because she was actually the backbone of the business. She was taking care of finances. She was taking care of the management. So, my dad was more of the, he had this macho role where he was actually working, but he wasn't into the management. And so he was my coach. And he psychologically destroyed me.
Oof.
And so, I'm growing up and, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, up until 17. I remember he almost punched me in the face when I was 17. And at that time, I was in the US, so, I started manning up a bit, and I said, man, if you lay a finger on me, I will fucking kill you. And that's the last time he actually threatened me. But the 17 years of mental dictatorship, of mental abuse, of psychological abuse, they never healed, man.
Yeah.
So that was a trauma that progressively grew worse. And to feel good or to feel better or to, feel better, try to get better about my sorrows, I drank.
Yep.
That's what I did. And one drink led to two led to three, and then four led to being a full-blown alcoholic 20 years later.
Yeah.
All right. I got a question for you. And I think you might be, you'll definitely have some insight into this, at being a pretty well-traveled person. Do you think that the American culture lends itself towards addiction?
Absolutely. And actually, I can definitely say so. Let's start from the gambling perspective. The NBA just signed a deal with William Hill. I read it correctly on the 4th of October. So, sports betting is now legal online, I think. Mm-hmm. From the drink side, I always questioned as to why you had to be 21 in the US to drink alcohol. And maybe you guys don't even know the real answer to that. And I always said, well, how can you serve in the army at 18 and represent your country and take a bullet for your country, but you're not allowed to take a drink?
Yeah.
And from my experience, from my understanding, medically speaking, the brain keeps growing, and it stops growing and developing at 21. So until 21, everything that you do, your brain absorbs as being normal.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why the drinking age in the US is 21. But to answer your question, in high school, you're encouraged to drink. When you go to college, I think now, if I'm not mistaken, on some college campuses, they have banned liquor, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. In some states, so they're putting on banning liquor.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, man, when I was in college, I knew people who went to college not to get an education. They went to college to get shit-faced, to make friends, and to socialize. Yeah. Because obviously in-state tuition is much cheaper than out-of-state tuition. I knew people who stayed 6 months, after they dropped out of the freshman, sophomore year because the grades were so shit, they couldn't maintain a 2.25 or 2.5 or 1.75, whatever. And they just came to college to go to frat parties and join fraternities and drink. I think in the US, you very much encourage this culture of binge drinking. Mm-hmm. And what's not taken into consideration is that when kids are doing that, when they're 14, 15, 16, 17, their brains are still maturing. So when they're binge drinking, their brain associates binge drinking as being part of the growing up process. Yeah. And so when they reach 21, alcohol is present, and then binge drinking will lead to alcohol dependency. And alcohol dependency, depending on if you suffer traumatic circumstances in your life, will lead to alcoholism. Yeah. So yes, I think that very much encourages a culture of, drug. I'm not a drug addict. I've smoked weed once, and I've taken cocaine one time, I think. Mm-hmm. So I cannot pronounce myself on these kinds of drugs, but from the alcohol perspective, definitely you encourage it. Mm-hmm. And from the gambling perspective, with all the legalization that's going on, yes. So you guys are actually heading for the shithole regarding problem gambling. This is something that's going to cost the economy so much, man. Yeah,
I agree. I agree 100%. I think our country has a lot of work to do in those departments, and really getting realistic about it and not glorifying or romanticizing addiction through a lot of means, especially like celebrity and everything like that. So, I think our culture has a lot of learning to do. And I think Eric now has our Twitter question for you.
I do. And this is actually pretty good since, like with early recovery. So this is from Amber Lee B. Her handle is a lot of different numbers after the name Amber. But Amber Lee B., and this is a group question, how do you handle cravings in early recovery?
Ooh.
The answer is quite simple. First of all, we have to understand, are we talking about alcoholism or are we talking about problem gambling? Because one addiction is substance, the other one is behavioral.
I mean, either
Okay,
like you can take alcohol. If you want to do alcohol, do alcohol. That one, like that would work. But either one.
I think the biggest mistake that people do when they enter recovery is that they come into the recovery uneducated about addiction, be it problem gambling or alcoholism. So there's a lot of research that is done. If the research is done, there's one part I think that is omitted, and I think this is not even talked about by psychologists and psychiatrists. You need to sit down and you need to think about your entire existence. And you need to think about where alcohol, for example, was plugged in the equation or formula of your life. You need to figure out where gambling was plugged into the formula. So, if you take alcohol, for example, you will get detoxification. It can take anywhere between 48 hours and 10 days to leave your system, depending on which type of drugs or they put you on medical drugs they put you on.
Mm-hmm.
But then the problem is when you leave the hospital and you leave the detox center, you're back in your environment. And in that environment, no one is guiding you through, so it's 6 p.m., right? So you know that for 7 years on Friday night, you would go to this place and drink. You're aware of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So before 7 o'clock hits, right? Why don't we go for a walk at 5 p.m.? Why don't we go meditate? Why don't we go on Twitter and chat with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you got to train your mind to disassociate yourself from the environment and the behavior which was associated with the addiction.
Absolutely.
And in order to do that, you have to think about your entire fucking life, and you've got to think about every single trigger that ever occurred to you. And if you don't do that, one day it will come and bite you back in the ass, because there's one thing that we cannot forecast, and those are our emotions. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're going to feel like in 2 days, in 3 days. For example, with me, I've got all my triggers covered, all my cravings, I've got them covered, all of them. Because I've done some soul searching, I talked with my psychologist, I talked with my wife, I talked with my mom, I talked with people that I knew. I asked them, when was I getting nervous, when was I getting anxious? The only answer that I don't have is regarding a death of my family member.
Mm.
So knock on wood, if tomorrow my mom was to pass away, or my brother was to pass away, or my daughter, I don't know how I would react, because I haven't gone through this. But this is why, going again with the cravings, you have to manage your triggers. And in order to manage your triggers, you have to know your environment.
Yep.
And you have to know where the addiction fit into your environment and your life.
Yep.
And usually that requires psychology. That requires counseling, usually.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Eric?
It's been a while since early recovery.
Has it, though?
I mean, I don't really count the past 2 times as early recovery. So, I mean, like, this past time wasn't the same, or even the other relapse. Like, when I came back in, it wasn't the same.
I'm just saying.
But like 7 years ago, I guess I would consider that early recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of it's just white knuckling it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, some of it is like, it's sitting on your hands and just not picking up the phone, not going out. Like, one of the things I did when I had cravings in early recovery is I watched a lot of TV.
Yep.
And I watched a lot of movies. I played a lot of video games. And, you can look at those and say, like, and further in my recovery, I've looked at those behaviors and kind of looked at, like, all right, well, is it healthy to binge watch this? Is it healthy to play video games for this long? And the answer is no. But at that time, to curb my, cravings for wanting to shoot dope, it helped. It helped to, like, binge watch all 8 Harry Potters and, like, do all that. And, it was, I mean, it's not ideal, but in early recovery, to not
Sometimes you got to pick your poison.
Yeah,
Is it going to be Harry Potter or heroin?
And it's like, what? How many times do we go to the midnight meeting and like, we're already 3 or 4 Red Bulls deep and we're a pack and a half in of cigarettes, and it's like, yeah, I mean, of course now with like years of being in recovery, it's like, yeah, I don't want to smoke cigarettes and I don't drink energy drinks and like, I don't practice those behaviors, but it was baby steps.
Yeah.
And like, I can't, if I do drugs or, drink or whatever, it's not going to work out. So it's kind of taking baby steps to the cravings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I smoked a pack and a half a day for a solid year. Was it good? No, but it helped with the cravings. And whatever to get you through that early recovery phase with cravings, you just got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
So David?
That you said, 2 things that you said. The first one is brilliant because what you just described, and a lot of people tend to forget this, is that every addiction story is different. Mm-hmm. Therefore, every addiction recovery is going to be different.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, but what you got to do as the addict who's suffering, you've got to make an inventory, an agenda, a pie chart, whatever you want of your entire existence. Mm-hmm. You've got to do that. You've got to understand. Like my mom told me something that I didn't even realize. Even now, up until now, I mean, it's less now, but since my latest sobriety date of 28th of May 2019, I'm under medication. Keep in mind, I'm taking all this medication. But even on Friday and Saturday, around 4 or 5 p.m., she said my face was turning red. My eyes started getting bloodshot. I was getting more angry, more agitated. Why? Because those were times that were associated with going out. Mm-hmm. So there was a physical reaction. My body was, I know I'm not supposed to drink or gamble, but I've been going out so many times during my life, during Fridays and Saturdays, that your body is saying, hey man, it's not normal. You're not doing this anymore. What's going on? Even with medication. Mm-hmm. And the second point, when you asked me how many days has it been, I honestly just found out today. Because to me now, I was counting the days up until 50. Mm-hmm. But then I accepted that being in recovery is a lifestyle. So I'm going to have to be sober for the rest of my life, be it whether I die tomorrow in a car crash, knock on wood, or I live to 80. It's a lifestyle. So for me, I am not going to be counting days anymore. Of course, it's nice when you reach, and if I do reach 10 years and 20 years, I'll be like, I did a good job. But I don't wake up in the morning counting days anymore because for me, and again, it's different for everyone, but for me, it puts that pressure. For me, I remember when I was getting 30, 40, I was sensing this pressure. I was like, hey, this guy on Twitter reached 75. Man, I'm at 40. I'm getting there, Yeah. So, me personally, I say just screw it. You got to be sober for the rest of your life, whatever it takes. Stop counting the days. That's for me.
Yeah. And me, for like early cravings, I had to break it down to like even simpler terms than that in early recovery. I didn't like to like put that, like he just said, the mental pressure of like staying clean the rest of my life, because all I had to do was just stay clean for today. And when you think about it,
right,
like that's all I can control. I have no control over 10 years from now, whatever that might be. I have control over honestly about 16 hours that I'm awake. I gotta stay clean for 16 hours, and then I can go to sleep, and I can redo it, and pack your toolbox with as many tools as possible. And like some of those tools in early recovery, like Eric was talking about, was cigarettes and energy drinks. And like, that's okay. If like you need to drink some more Red Bull to get over it, that's okay. If you need to smoke a pack and a half of cigarettes, that's okay too. Get phone numbers, find people on Twitter, and start using those tools. And as you go along through recovery, you're gonna figure out which tools work for you. And that's what we preach here at Podcast Recovery is it's what works for you. If it's binge watching Harry Potter, do that. If it's cigarettes, do that. If it's Red Bull, do that. If it's going for a walk, do that. Meditation, reading, poetry, music. Like there's so many tools, so many outlets for your thoughts and your feelings. You just gotta, especially very early in recovery, get rid of those numbers. Like get a new cell phone number if you have to, and stop putting your place in those environments, and keep yourself busy. Me personally, keep yourself busy.
And for me, being in a society where addictions are not accepted, I'm on Twitter every day, and I mean, in 2 months I've tweeted 10,000 times. And for me, being on Twitter, it reminds me that I am an addict in recovery. Being on Twitter, when I see someone relapsing, first thing I send a prayer and I say, man, I know the feeling because I've relapsed over 20 times, and I feel bad for that person, and I send a message of hope. I mean, I've got 600 followers or something like that. Sometimes I do miss it, but when you ask about the inventory, I respond. So me being on Twitter reminds me that I have to take it one day at a time, and that a relapse is just looming around the corner with an emotion or with a feeling. So this is why I take the decision to not go out. I take the decision to just erase people from my life, and that's how I go about it. But Twitter for me is an essential part of remaining sober. And every night I go to bed, I always say, thank you very much for being my support system, because my support system is my mom, my job, and Twitter, and my medical team.
Yeah.
So not putting my wife in there, not putting my daughter in there, not putting my brother in there, not putting my environment. I mean, if it weren't for Twitter, I honestly say, if it wasn't for people like you and the long-term abstainers and people who share their story, I would not be sober today. I don't think so. I honestly don't think I'd be sober today.
I appreciate that.
And since we're on the topic of Twitter, where can people find you and find your website and find your YouTube page? I know you post a lot to YouTube. Where can people find you?
So my hashtag, I think it's AGAS_Mauritius. So AGAS_Mauritius. And actually, if you type in addiction Mauritius or alcoholism Mauritius or anything related to alcohol and gambling, I did such a good job on the search engine optimization.
Yeah.
When you these words in Google, my website pops up first, and it shows you how bad the state of affairs are in this country. Because usually in the US or in a state or in a city or in the UK, when you type in addiction, usually you would have a government-funded program or an association or a non-profit foundation that will appear first. In Mauritius, you've got the website of an addict in recovery that shows up first, and then you've got nothing.
Yeah.
So this is where we're at in my country. But yeah, to find me, I mean, you type in my first name, Jonathan, or I guess I'm connected with you guys, but I'm quite active on Twitter, and it's a massive tool, and I think especially for people who don't have access to acceptance in society and who don't have access, to meetings or whatnot, this is a free and such a valuable tool. I encourage everyone to go on there, because the thing that I love with Twitter is that it's made for the most part a bunch of addicts in recovery or addicts that are joining. So when you do relapse or when you are going through a shit time, you're not being judged. You're not being labeled. You're not saying, oh, you're an asshole, you fucked up, or you're a dick. No. There's support, there's encouragement, there's motivation, which a lot of times you don't even get from the physical people that supposedly love you. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'd like to thank you, Jonathan, for joining us today. Give you a golf clap. Absolutely. Golf clap. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it. And let us do our little sign out real quick. Here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for joining us, Jonathan. Follow him on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Like, share, subscribe, invite your friends. Most importantly, everybody out there, stay safe, stay clean.